When Ethan was 12 years old, he spent a summer with his Aunt Maria in rural Colorado. Maria lived on a small ranch surrounded by wide fields, snow-capped mountains in the distance, and the crisp smell of pine in the air. Ethan's parents thought a summer away from the city would be good for him, a chance to get fresh air, spend time outdoors, and maybe even learn something new. Ethan loved his aunt. She was warm, tough, and always seemed to know how to explain the complicated parts of life in simple ways. One evening, while they were sitting on the porch watching the sun dip behind the mountains, Ethan blurted out, "Aunt Maria, when I grow up, I want to be successful. I want people to look at me and say I made it. Can you tell me how to do that?" Maria leaned back in her rocking chair, thought for a moment, and said with a grin, "That's a big question, Ethan. Instead of giving you an answer right now, how about I show you something?" The next morning, Maria drove Ethan into town. At the edge of town was a small animal shelter. Inside, dozens of puppies wagged their tails, barked for attention, and pressed their noses against the wire cages. Maria adopted 2 puppies that looked almost identical, both brown, floppy-eared, and full of energy. When they returned to the ranch, Maria built a comfortable pen inside the barn for one of the puppies. It had blankets, food, water, and was safe from the wind, rain, and scorching sun. The other puppy she let roam freely outside the barnyard. It had shelter under a wooden lean-to, but most of the time it had to face the weather, the mud, and even bigger dogs in the area. Ethan was puzzled. Why not keep them both safe inside the barn? Maria only smiled and said, "Let's see what happens." Life moved on, and Ethan eventually returned to the city with his parents. He grew taller, busier with school, and nearly forgot about that summer experiment. 4 years later, when Ethan was 16, his parents sent him back to Colorado for another summer. The first thing he noticed when he stepped onto the ranch was the sound of barking. A huge, muscular dog bounded toward him. Its fur was shiny, its legs strong, and its eyes full of life. It leaped playfully onto Ethan, almost knocking him over. "That's one of the puppies we adopted," Maria laughed. "Do you remember?" Ethan was stunned. "That little puppy grew into this?" Maria led him into the barn. In the corner, curled up on a blanket, was the other dog. It was smaller, thinner, and noticeably weaker. Its bark was faint compared to the booming voice of the dog outside. Ethan frowned. Why are they so different? Weren't they the same when we got them? Maria looked at him kindly. Exactly the same. But one lived protected inside, while the other faced the world outside. Which one do you think is stronger now? The one outside, of course, Ethan admitted. But Aunt Maria, that doesn't make sense. The outside one had to deal with storms, hunger, maybe even fights with other dogs. Shouldn't that have made it weaker? Maria put a hand on Ethan's shoulder. That outside dog had freedom to run chase and test its limits. Every storm forced it to find shelter. Every cold night made its fur thicker. Every chase taught it speed and resilience. Those struggles shaped it. The puppy inside never had to face those things, so it stayed comfortable and small. Ethan thought hard about her words. Maria continued, "Life works the same way for us. If you stay where it's safe all the time, avoiding challenges, you may be comfortable, but you won't grow strong. But if you step outside your comfort zone, face difficulties, and keep pushing forward, you'll become tougher, wiser, and more capable. That's how success is built." They walked back outside. The large dog bounded across the field, chasing after a rabbit. Its muscles rippled with every stride. The smaller dog inside the barn barely lifted its head, too timid to even bark. "Success isn't about avoiding hardship," Maria said softly. "It's about learning how to use hardship to your advantage." That evening, Ethan sat on the porch again, watching the sun melt into the horizon. The powerful dog lay beside him, panting happily after hours of running. The weaker dog stayed in the barn, curled in the shadows. Ethan's mind kept replaying Maria's words. He realized he often chose the safe route, avoiding sports because he feared failure, shying away from tough classes at school, staying quiet instead of speaking up. He wanted success, but had been choosing the comfort of the barn. Maria's story of the two puppies wasn't just about animals, it was about him. In the weeks that followed, Ethan began pushing himself. He helped Maria repair fences, rode horses even when he was nervous, and woke up early to do chores instead of sleeping in. Each task was uncomfortable at first, but with every effort he grew stronger and more confident. One day, while they were hauling hay, Ethan asked, "So, Aunt Maria, do you think struggle is always good?" Maria shook her head. "Not always easy, but almost always useful. Struggle teaches us patience, grit, and creativity. It shows us what we're capable of. The key is not to run from it, but to face it with courage. Just like the outside dog, storms didn't destroy it, they built it." Ethan smiled, finally beginning to understand. At the end of the summer, as Ethan packed his bags to return to the city, he knelt down to hug both dogs. The strong one wagged its tail vigorously, pressing its wet nose into his hand. The weaker one licked his fingers gently, its eyes soft and tired. Ethan whispered, "I don't want to be like the dog in the barn. I want to be strong like the one outside." As he climbed into the car, he looked at Maria. She gave him one last piece of advice. "Remember, Ethan, life will throw storms at you. School, work, relationships, failures. Don't hide from them. Step into the rain. Struggle isn't your enemy. It's your greatest teacher." Ethan nodded, the words sinking deep into his heart. He promised himself that whenever life grew difficult, he would remember the two puppies. He would push forward, not retreat, knowing that each challenge was a stepping stone to his future. Years later, Ethan would often tell friends and colleagues about that summer on his aunt's ranch. Whenever someone complained about how unfair or hard life felt, he would smile and say, "You know, the strongest trees grow in the fiercest storms. And the strongest dogs are the ones that run free outside the barn. Don't run from the struggle. It's shaping you into who you're meant to be." And every time he said it, he could almost hear Aunt Maria's voice echoing in his mind, reminding him that success isn't about sheltering yourself from life. It's about embracing it fully, with all its winds, rains, and storms.